How many times have you said you wanted something, but never really moved to achieve it? You say you want respect, freedom, a purpose, but you keep repeating patterns that keep you trapped, sabotaging your own steps. Why? Nietzsche believed that the greatest human weakness is not being fragile, it's lying to yourself, saying you want the truth, but living running away from it. Today, we are going to take off this mask and find out why you might never have had the courage to admit what you really want, not even for yourself. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to fool others, but even easier to fool yourself? Nietzsche said that true human weakness lies not in the pain we feel or the failures we face, but in the lie we tell ourselves every day. We pretend we're okay when we're suffocating. We say we are at peace when, in reality, we carry anger, envy, fear. We create elegant justifications for our stagnation. It's not the right time. I'm waiting to mature. Things will sort themselves out with time. But behind this is the fear of taking action, of confronting the truth, of accepting that perhaps we are sabotaging ourselves in silence. Nietzsche saw this as a refined form of cowardice. For him, weakness is not simply physical or emotional fragility. It is the refusal to look inward honestly. It's living a life shaped by excuses, where you say you want something but act like you don't. Dostoevsky portrayed this accurately in the story of White Nights, with the character who intensely loves a woman, but, when rejected, pretends to be happy for her. He smiles, praises your decision, acts nobly, but that's not greatness. It's escape. He doesn't scream, he doesn't confront, he doesn't take on his pain. And in this denial of his own will, he betrays himself. This is how many of us live, constructing socially acceptable versions of ourselves, characters who fit in, who say yes when they mean no, who prefer the comfort of self-image to the pain of truth. Nietzsche called this the morality of the resentful, one that, instead of accepting desire, represses it and masks it with good intentions. The problem is that this type of lying becomes a habit, and habit becomes identity, until the day you no longer know if what you want is really yours, or just a story you told so many times that you started to believe it. Nietzsche invites us to break this cycle, stopping protecting ourselves from ourselves, understanding that radical honesty is the first step of strength, not the brute strength that dominates others, but the subtle and rare strength of those who dominate themselves. The lie we tell ourselves is not born out of nowhere. It is built, little by little, as a defense mechanism against something that bothers us deeply. The failure to be who we say we want to be. It all starts with desire. We want to be admired, loved, successful. We want freedom, autonomy, greatness. But at the first stumble, when reality does not correspond to the ideal, dissonance arises. A silent discomfort takes over us, and to avoid facing this feeling of inadequacy, we created a way out, the comforting lie. Nietzsche explained this with the metaphor of the fox and grapes. The fox sees the grapes at the top of the tree, tries to reach them, fails, and then concludes, they were really green. It denies the value of what it cannot obtain, and so self-deception is born, a protective mechanism that distorts reality to preserve the ego. But there is a price. This mechanism gives rise to a feeling that Nietzsche considered a silent poison: resentment. It's when we don't have the courage to admit that we fail, that we envy, that we desire something that is beyond us, and therefore, we begin to devalue those who have, those who do, those who achieve. We can't face our impotence, so we attack other people's success with cynicism. We say it's arrogance, it's luck, it's privilege. And in this reversal, we convince ourselves that our weakness is a higher form of morality. That's when self-deception stops being just a relief and becomes a system. A filter that distorts everything we see. Instead of recognizing our limitations and overcoming them, We take refuge in a narrative that keeps us harmless and trapped. Nietzsche believed that this logic is so common because it is comfortable. It hurts less to say we don't want to than to admit we want to and can't. It hurts less to appear pure than to admit we are ambitious. The problem is that this repeated lie keeps us away from the only thing that could transform us: confrontation with the truth. Because only when you admit what you want, what you envy, what you fear, can you begin to move. Self-deception gives us relief, but only the truth gives us strength. We live in a culture that celebrates the nice guy, one who is kind, peaceful, understanding, the one who never creates conflict, who gives in, who listens, who forgives. But Nietzsche saw in this character something much more dangerous than he appears: the concealment of weakness under the guise of virtue. He is not kind because he is strong, but because he is afraid of being rejected. He is not peaceful because he controls his impulses, but because he fears confrontation. Your sweetness is not a trait of greatness, but a strategy to avoid the pain of imposing yourself. Nietzsche called this slave morality, a morality invented by the weak, resentful, and powerless to transform their inferior condition into a kind of spiritual superiority. As they are unable to assert themselves in the world, they create a value system that reverses the poles. Now, humility is noble, sacrifice is beautiful, and power becomes sin. So, instead of facing their weakness, they sanctify it. The nice guy on Instagram, who posts quotes about self-love, but is envious of the success of others. The one who preaches empathy, but burns inside when he is not recognized. He smiles, but his sweetness is tainted. He claims to be moral, but he lives comparing himself. Your kindness is armor, not a choice. Nietzsche saw this artificial kindness as a socially accepted form of resentment. The modern nice guy is not a saint. He is a frustrated man who has learned to manipulate through victimization, passivity, and moral discourse. And the more he hides his anger, the more it grows, until it explodes in distorted forms: irony, sarcasm, veiled criticism, emotional blocks. The great tragedy is that many confuse this mask with virtue, but it is the opposite of authenticity. Nietzsche would say, "The truly good does not need to appear good. He is. And because he is not afraid of displeasing, not afraid to confront, not afraid to take a stand." The nice guy is dangerous because he is a liar, even to himself. And this subtle, socially approved lie is one of the most corrosive forces on the human soul. If the nice guy represents a comfortable lie, behind this facade there is something even more chaotic: a fragmented will. Nietzsche believed that true strength is not just wanting something, but wanting it with intensity, with clarity, with inner unity. And that is exactly what we lost. We live in conflict. We want success, but we seek distractions. We desire freedom, but we fear difficult choices. We dream of a life of authenticity, but we remain stuck in relationships, routines, and patterns that empty us. We are a jumble of disconnected impulses, not a firm direction. Nietzsche said that this is the state of most people, divided inside, torn apart by desires that cancel each other out. In the morning, they aspire to greatness. In the afternoon, they procrastinate. At night, they blame themselves. The next day, they repeat. Not out of malice, but because your will is disorganized. And a fragmented will is an impotent life. Have you ever tried to do something big in the midst of doubt? Have you ever tried to commit while a part of you wanted to run away? Have you promised to change while another part silently said, "But what if it goes wrong?" This is not a lack of desire. It's an excess of internal voices. And where there are many voices, none are truly heard. Nietzsche saw this as the greatest obstacle to self-creation. Because as long as your will is divided, your action will be weak. You will be distracted, manipulable, without presence. You will live reacting to the world, not shaping the world from you. And then the symptoms appear: procrastination, mental fatigue, low self-esteem. Not because you don't have potential, but because your energy is scattered. It's like trying to light a fire with scattered sparks. It doesn't catch. It doesn't heat up. It doesn't transform. The unity of will is the basis of power. That's when you decide with your entire body. It's when your words, your gestures, and your thoughts go together. Nietzsche called this life-affirming, and it starts with the courage to choose a path and silence the voices that don't have the courage to follow it. You don't need more motivation. You need inner alignment. Nietzsche did not believe in easy solutions. He did not see suffering as a problem to be eliminated, but as a path to something greater, and therefore, his healing proposal is radical. You need to admit, with brutal honesty, what you want, even if it scares you, exposes you, shames you. Because only those who admit their truth can begin to move towards it. Most people are not weak because they want too little, but because they are afraid of wanting too much. Nietzsche proposes that, instead of denying suffering, you learn to love it. Love fati, love of destiny, does not mean passive resignation. It means looking at every pain, every fall, every loss, and saying, yes, I choose this too, because this is what forms me. It's the idea of turning every scar into an argument, every failure into a foundation. Not to romanticize pain, but to use it as your raw material. This is the essence of Superman, the beyond man. Not a superior being in the arrogant sense, but someone who has transcended inherited illusions. Someone who stopped living by other people's values and started creating their own. Someone who, even in the face of the absence of meaning, decides to become a creator of meaning. Nietzsche said that the highest stage of the human spirit is the child, but not in a childish sense, but as a symbol of rebirth. The child is light, inventive, spontaneous. She doesn't need permission to imagine, to create, to reinvent the rules of the game. And that is what he proposes. Not a return to the past, but a creative leap. You don't need to become more serious, tougher, more correct. It needs to become more true. The Nietzschean cure is uncomfortable because it doesn't give you relief. It gives you responsibility. It tells you that if your life is incoherent, it is you who must reorder it, and that there is only strength when there is truth, even if it hurts, especially if it hurts. It's not about eliminating your contradictions. It's about integrating them, and choose every day to be someone who doesn't lie to themselves, not even when it would be easier. So, what do you say you want today, and what are you actually doing about it? Nietzsche would not judge you for being afraid, for hesitating, for contradicting yourself. But he would call you weak if you kept lying to yourself. Because weakness, for him, is not in pain, nor in falling, but in the cowardice of not facing one's own truth. Maybe what stops you most isn't the world. Be the character you created to survive in it. And as long as this character continues to speak louder than your real will, you will remain still, convincing yourself that everything is fine, when, deep down, you know that it isn't. Nietzsche didn't want to comfort you. He wanted to wake you up, because only those who wake up to their own lie have any chance of living an authentic truth. Now the question remains, do you really want what you say you want? Or are you just pretending because it's safer? Respond in the comments. What truth have you most avoided facing?